Today we'll be making Cesare's hammer from Bigtop Burger.
These are things you'll need: black and white spiral straw, cardboard, box cutter, Xacto knife, hot glue, white glue, burnt sienna acrylic paint, black acrylic paint, white acrylic paint, and a paintbrush. First I started out by drawing two circles with a diameter of 1 3/4 inch on a piece of cardboard, and I cut them out with an Xacto knife. Then I drew out a rectangle that was 5 3/4 inch by 3 3/4 inch onto a piece of cereal box cardboard. Then I cut it out with a box cutter. I hot glued those three pieces together to form a cylinder, with the circles acting as the top and bottom, and the cereal box cardboard acting as the walls of the cylinder. Now this took a little while because I had to glue it in sections, because when trying to glue a flat piece of cardboard into a circular shape, it wants to spring back into being flat. So while the glue is drying, you have to hold it in place so it doesn't spring back until the glue dries. And then once it dries, then you can continue and glue on the next little section and do this over and over again until it's finally a cylinder. And then once the glue dried, I cut off the excess with a pair of scissors. Then I noticed that it wasn't a great cylinder, it was kind of lumpy and uneven, so I decided to put two more of those circles in there for more support. I just used a heat gun to heat up the hot glue so I could open it back up. You could probably use a hairdryer if you don't have a heat gun. Then I hot glued those in, and then just close it back up. Then I cut a hole in the bottom right on that seam so I could fit the straw in to act as the handle. I moved on to making the skulls that are on either side of the hammer. First I made a paper template. My first go around is just a little too short, so I made another one, and then I cut it out with an Xacto blade. And the reason there's a little triangle on the top is because when you cut that out and make those two edges meet, it'll round the skull a little bit and give it a little more dimension, so it's not just a flat piece of cardboard. And then use that template to trace it onto some cereal box cardboard, and I cut that out. Then I got some tape and taped the skull into the desired shape I wanted, just to hold it in place while I glue the seam in the back. Then to give the eyes and nose a little more depth, I cut out some pieces of cereal box cardboard that would cover up those holes, and then use some white glue to glue those on the back of the skull. I made the pommel of the hammer just by gluing some tiny little circles of cereal box cardboard together, and then I glued that to the bottom of the handle. Then I hot glued the handle and the hammer head together. Then I glued on the skulls to either side of the hammer head, making sure they're all lined up correctly and centered on there. Then to make those little rib details on the top, I just cut out a couple strips of cereal box cardboard and tapered the ends, and I glued them on with some white glue. And once that dried, I glued on little detail that goes right where the handle and the hammerhead meet. And I did make it off camera, but it's just a couple strips of Cereal Box cardboard glued together. And once that dried, it was on to painting. First I painted the rib details on top white. And it did take multiple coats to get a nice even color. Then I painted the skulls brown with a mixture of burnt sienna and black acrylic paint. And yes, it did take multiple coats as well. Then I painted the middle section brown, kind of being sloppy with it because I was going to clean it up later with the black paint. And I painted that little detail where the handle and the hammerhead meet. And then I painted the pommel, all with that burnt sienna and black acrylic paint mixture. Then I painted the rest of the hammerhead black, and using it to clean up some of the edges of the other things I painted, such as the brown stripe down the middle and those little rib details. And this one also required multiple coats, but less than the other colors. The other colors took around 3 or 4, but the black only took like 2 coats. Once that dried, it was done. I'm really happy with how it's turned out. I think it's very funny. You know, I got this idea just because I saw this straw at work, and I'm like, I feel like I could make something out of that. And I was thinking something Beetlejuice related at first, but I'm like, that's literally just the handle to Cesare's hammer. So there you go. That's how this thing came to be. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
My 1,000 years are up! I'm going to Tampa.